Tonight on KGW News, she vanished in the early 90s.
When Aunt Patsy disappeared, it was just like without a trace.
Then, decades later, a Christmas gift to her nephew helped unearth her killer.
Plus, wild weather makes a comeback. Potential severe storms in the forecast, while some still struggle to clean up.
We had an unprecedented April snowstorm.
And later, the mandates may be gone, but see why Multnomah County is still asking you to keep wearing a mask in some spots. Your news starts now. And we start with a major break in a cold case, 3 decades in the making. Thank you for joining us. I'm Laurel Porter.
And I'm David Molko. Tonight, the death of a Clackamas County woman who was missing for years has been linked to a serial murderer known as the Happy Face Killer. And while her family is understandably struggling with that realization, what's absolutely remarkable here is their direct role in how investigators finally solved the case. Here's Catherine Cook.
It's exciting and sad at the same time, and a relief to finally have an answer.
It's been 30 years since Don Benthen's aunt, Patricia Skipple, vanished.
It was just like without a trace,
Patsy, as they called her, was 45 years old at the time and lived in Colton, Oregon. In 1993, a truck driver spotted her remains on the side of a highway in the San Francisco Bay Area. But no one knew who she was.
There was nothing left except bones.
Patsy's older sister, Gloria White.
It's just a really hard pill to swallow to know that she was laying there and also that she was unidentified for so long.
Decades would pass before Patsy's name would be connected to those remains. But 13 years after the body was found, the name of her killer became clear. Keith Hunter Jesperson, a.k.a. the Happy Face Killer. In 2006, Jesperson, already in an Oregon prison on several murders, wrote to the DA's office and confessed.
This case is really unique because it's not often that you have a conviction for murder without knowing who the victim is.
Sergeant Shannon Catalano is assigned to the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Cold Case Unit. She is the latest in a long line of investigators who tried tirelessly to name this Jane Doe. But Catalano had something the others didn't: Don Benthen's DNA.
They were searching, for some answers,
2 years ago, Don got an Ancestry DNA kit for Christmas. He uploaded the results. The first ping he got came from Sergeant Catalano's team. They asked if he'd be willing to post the results on GEDmatch, a national DNA database where investigators could access it.
They didn't tell me why, so I was a little bit hesitant about doing it. It's just the detectives were doing some research and they wanted my DNA, and I was going, wow, I wonder what that's all about,
Don said yes. So did his sister. With help from the DNA Doe Project and about 2 years of work, they finally knew the woman by the road was Patsy Skipple. Last week, Sergeant Catalano flew to Oregon to tell her family.
It was a relief in one way, but really emotional otherwise, because she's my sister.
It was very moving to be able to meet with them and give them those answers that they deserve. And there's many more John and Jane Does who deserve to get their name back.
And they all worked hard to find the answer, and never gave up. That's the biggest thing about it, is they never gave up,
No, they didn't. Keith Jesperson is confessed to killing 8 women in 6 states, including Oregon and Washington. His nickname, the Happy Face Killer, comes from the smiley faces he would draw on the many letters he sent to media and law enforcement. He's currently serving 4 life sentences in the Oregon State Penitentiary. David.
The power of forensics and a family there who refused to forget. Catherine, incredible story there. Thank you. All right, let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines here. A skateboarder has died after being hit by a car in Aloha. This happened at about 6 tonight, the intersection of TV Highway and 198th. Deputies are trying to ID the victim. They say they were likely in their 30s. The driver is cooperating with police.
We now know the name of the suspect shot by U.S. Marshals in southeast Portland yesterday. He was 23-year-old Roman Culver. Authorities say Culver was wanted for several crimes out of Washington, including robbery and assault.
When marshals went to arrest him, they say he tried to escape and rammed several police cars. An officer who was caught between the vehicles then shot Culver in the neck. He's now in the hospital. Another man in the car with him suffered minor injuries.
Police are looking for a man accused of trying to kidnap a 13-year-old girl in Washougal. Police say the girl was walking home yesterday evening on 6th Street just after 7 p.m. when a man started to chase her and then grabbed her. The girl was able to get away and make it home safe.
With the month that we've had so far, it may not surprise you. We're looking at another unstable spring weather day tomorrow.
And Matt's already throwing out all kind of possibilities. Hail, gusty winds, your favorite, thunder, snow. I mean, how bad is it going to get here?
You know what? All of those we can expect at various spots, various times throughout the viewing area. Tomorrow, we're not going to get them all at once, and in the valley, the odds of thunder snow finally will be dropping. That's more confined to the Cascades. Right now, we've got some shower activity out there, but not too much, and no lightning within the last several hours. But there is a risk of a marginal risk of severe weather from I-5 westward tomorrow. Severe thunderstorms is what I mean by that. So how do you break that down? It's not very high on the scale here, okay? But for Western Oregon, we hardly ever see that, so it is something of note and it's certainly got the attention of the Twitterverse. What we're looking at are showers coming in after we get rain in the morning, and you see these speckles of orange. Those are the thunderstorms. So I think we will see at least some thunderstorm activity in Western Oregon tomorrow. Exactly where is hard to pin down at this point, and exactly how strong it gets, also hard to pin down. But somebody's going to get a thunderstorm tomorrow somewhere in Western Oregon from mid-morning till late afternoon, the most likely time. So here's what we can expect. Strong thunderstorms, certainly possible, even though there's not a guarantee on that. The conditions are right for that with this front and right after. Hail, gusty winds, downpours, lightning, all of which we saw last week. We'll probably see various spots in the area see that again. And then, of course, the big question I'm getting is, are we going to see a tornado tomorrow? Well, the chance is non-zero, put it that way. But it's only about 2% of a chance that somewhere in Western Oregon would actually see a tornado tomorrow. So again, it's not zero, but it's not very high, guys.
A little bit of everything, but let us hope we do not see that. Thank you.
Yeah, let's hope for sure.
All right, by the way, the weather whiplash we saw last week knocked down hundreds of trees around Portland alone. The recovery from that still underway here.
City workers tell us tonight that cleanup is far from finished, as another round, as Matt was saying, of storms threatens to bring down even more. Alma McCarty found out why it's taking a while.
From northeast to southwest, caution signs, branches, and tape signify different stages of progress when it comes to clearing the more than 750 fallen trees from Portland streets. A week ago, unseasonable snow brought down unstable limbs onto homes and roads.
We had an unprecedented April snowstorm, a time of year when trees and flowers are blooming. They got leaves, they have more surface area that the snow and slush and heavy rains were weighing down.
City crews have been prioritizing cleanup on the most traveled routes, then are working their way into neighborhoods.
And it's all hands on deck. We're continuing to move from the biggest impacts to the smallest, making sure ambulances can get through, making sure fire trucks have clear routes, making sure doctors can get to their patients.
That work will continue for the next several weeks, according to Mark Ross with Portland Parks and Recreation. His team asking for understanding and for patience.
We have a complement of about 9 people who can go out and do a surprising amount of work with the capacity that they have, but it's not a huge number. So we're doing the best we can, and obviously all those 9 people don't work at the very same time. So understanding the limitations of capacity that we have is going to be key to us understanding and everyone understanding what we're facing with.
They'll be keeping an eye out for another round of severe weather.
We're at the mercy of Mother Nature. We just want to increase vigilance because we already know there are problems. There could be potentially weakened spots, but it's impossible to tell until they happen.
Finally, the Parks and Rec Urban Forestry Department reminding folks they can't and won't get to every tree. Homeowners are responsible for the ones that fall in their yard.
And if for some reason you're requesting a permit through Parks and Rec, it will take longer than usual, up to 6 or 8 weeks due to this backup. Parks and Rec says they also have a handle on the trees that have already come down, but if you have a new tree emergency, you can contact them directly. We'll have a phone number on our website. Laurel?
Thank you, Alma. And new here at 11, a warning from Multnomah County and Oregon health officials. They want to remind people about the risk of consuming certain fish along the lower Willamette River. That's anywhere between Kelly Point Park and the Selwood Bridge, or the Multnomah Channel to the Sauvie Island Bridge. They say fish in that area could contain toxins, specifically PCBs. Those toxic chemicals come from industrial runoff that ends up eventually in the fish. You should avoid eating carp, catfish, bass, and clams from that part of the river and dispose of the parts of the fish that most likely contain those toxins.
There's some cultures that eat the whole body, like they'll cut up the whole fish, including the internal organs, and make it into kind of a fish stew. And the problem with that is that a lot of those internal organs have a lot of fat in them, and so a lot of the PCBs will be with that fat.
Possible long-lasting health effects from PCBs include a suppressed immune system, liver and thyroid issues, and an increased chance of diabetes and heart disease.